Okay, we are live.
We're live?
We're live.
Oh my god.
Sort of.
That's crazy. Alright. Welcome to Tattool Time. If you are still with us, thanks.
Thank you.
And you're
So
obviously
much.
very bored too, so we'll try and entertain for a little while. We are your resident tattoo artists. I am Chuck.
Nate. We are here at Dark Pearl Tattoo in Rochester, New York.
And we are going to talk about a bunch of stuff tonight. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to start the night off tonight by talking a little bit. Me and Nate got to go to a very fun show a couple weeks back, and we went to Jim Jeffries' comedy show at the Kodak Theater here in Rochester, and
hilarious.
Oh, wasn't that great?
He was so damn funny.
Like it was so entertaining.
Yeah.
Nate was working late that night. It was a last minute thing.
Yep.
That I had an extra ticket, and I was like, "Yeah, you want to come? I need someone to go with." And when we went, we got there like just as the opener was finishing up his act. So we did miss that, and he seemed like he did all right. The last joke.
Yeah, we saw like 5 minutes of it. It was okay.
But Jim Jeffries came right on afterwards, and I've been to a bunch of comedy shows. That was impressive. He was on for almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that was a show. We got our money's worth.
Right. Yeah. It was. We did. His set was. It was phenomenal. I've always liked him. He's a good comedian, but
very funny.
If you're not familiar, look him up. He's great. Yeah, but the 2.5 hour set. Not only did he was preparing. Apparently, he was preparing for his Netflix special, which is and so he kind of did he was wrapping up those jokes and getting them perfected for that.
He did like an hour, I think, on just that.
Yeah, but then he had all this new material that he's been writing over the course of this tour, and he sat and he used us almost as like a test audience. And,
it was great.
Yeah, and just gave us like just a little bit of everything. It was such a great show.
It was, and then like he roasted that heckler for 20 minutes. Phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That was very
absolutely great.
Yeah, that guy was decimated. He will never speak up at a comedy show.
That poor guy.
Again.
But also, you ask for that when you shout something out at a comedy special with 1,000 people.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I would say when that thing comes out, I can't wait to see the refined and the finished. Like
I want to watch it.
I'll be excited to see it when it comes out.
It'll be really cool. So today we have a topic for you. Another topic.
We started the conversation last time. In our first episode, we briefly touched on it, but technology. And what has happened to the tattoo world? In over time, I can only tell the tales and the stories of like what the old timers told me about before my time. But I do have a couple of those. I also have and then what I've seen. And what I've seen over 15 years, and what you mentioned over your 5 years, which will be interesting because you have a more pinpointed.
Yeah, it's very precise.
Right, you're very precise over what happened over the past.
I came
5 years
at the end of an era, so to speak.
Truly, at the beginning of a new one.
And then so just being like, oh, I learned this. Whoa, and I learned this. Like, or do I not learn it, and do I just stick with what I know? And like, it was a choice.
Right. So I think we got some fun stuff to talk about tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about tattoo history. I hope you guys enjoy.
Yes. So thank you for tuning in again, and stick with us.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
I know they tell you that all the time.
It's the thing. We appreciate it though. And thank you so much to anybody that liked and subscribed and commented on the last video. We appreciate you guys so much.
And as you guys comment, we will definitely try and respond to as much as we can, or get to those topics, bring topics up if you want to hear about stuff.
Yeah, we'll get to the comments. I don't know if I'm ready quite yet for that, but we will get to them.
See, I'm not worried about that.
You're not worried about it?
Comments don't piss me off. I don't think I've ever cared about. Dude, you gotta have haters. Like, I believe
you do.
Yeah.
Like, you're not doing it right if you don't have haters. For sure.
And that's fine. I don't even care. It's a good time.
You're probably gonna get a laugh out of it.
Yeah. But no, definitely, like, let us know if you want to see anything or want us to
any topics for us to chat about, for sure.
Again, we're still new, so we're just going to be all aboard, and we'll refine this over time.
Still cutting our teeth very early on.
But let's talk technology. Not to get too far off topic. Let's talk technology.
Technology. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with machines? Do we want to start with drawing versus iPads?
Why don't we start with like the very first part, like the drawing? Like let's start with that. I think, so many people want to get into tattooing. You hear about it, and this is even for these people to listen to, and you're gonna learn a lot. Of real just experience, and so when I first started, and I mean for a very, very long time, before even me, there was a lot of tracing paper involved. Drawing on computers it's relatively new in the grand scheme of things. Like,
sure, because
there was the Wacom pad, the Wacom pads, whatever.
It's existed for a long time, but I mean, the amount of money that you would have had to spend as a shop to be able to do that would have been astronomical.
Absolutely,
astronomical.
Absolutely, it was a totally different.
Just almost impossible, right?
So when I first started, it was draw, redraw, draw, redraw. You had to start with your sketch, and then, and the process hasn't changed that dramatically. It's just gotten quicker with the technology now with the iPad.
And that's a great point. You still have to be able to draw. I'll die on that hill. I know that there's artists that are out there that can do the photorealism, that can just see a picture, copy a picture.
Which is an impressive skill.
It is very impressive. But even most of those people will also tell you that that's what they do. If they won't custom draw something, they will photo bash things together, and they won't. So I do still feel like most people, unless you have that very niche skill set, you need to be able to draw.
Yeah, and some people are just amazing at it. I know several artists that one in particular comes to mind. He's now a traditional artist because he never started as that. He couldn't lay down a line when he started up. But you let him do a portrait, and it came out amazing. Right? And he went the opposite way and wanted to really refine that. And now the guy's a killer artist.
Right.
Out in California. But that was that baffled me that that's how he started out. When I learned the basics. I learned line work. I learned you started with line work, then you started with fill, then you learned the shading, and then that was at least my process of learning, but so getting back to the technology of it though. The iPad has made these things quicker. So, and with so much less just mess. It has cleaned up the shop to a whole new level. I'm so that part of the technology and tattooing, there's so many good parts. We have to grow.
Absolutely.
I will die on the hill that you grow or you die. There are so few people that can say that their technique is one of such an old school. Now, I mean, if you're talking the Japanese techniques, if you're talking
like the
tabori, you're talking.
For those of you that don't know, tabori is where they just still tap it in by hand.
if they're still doing that, like that's one thing. That is even what you mentioned in our last episode. Like that's cultural, that's spiritual to someone. And
Oh
like
yeah,
that's so much more meaningful. I think
yeah.
in a sense,
It's niche.
it's
Like you
very
have a
niche,
very
right?
specific set of clients that are looking for that.
Yeah. 99% of tattoo artists are not that. Like,
Right.
we do some really cool tattoos.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and so, I mean, unless you are that, you have to grow. You have to like adapt
Yeah.
to, why would you want to spend 8 hours of your day? Why would you want to spend 8 hours of your day drawing if you can do that exact same tattoo and quality after you're drawing in 2 hours on the iPad?
Right.
Right? Like I mean, it definitely
It
lightened.
speeds things up
Yeah,
for
incredible,
sure.
and
And I
and
would
it gives me great results. Like, and
right.
that's what the end result is. What the client cares about.
Well, I was gonna say too. In yes, 100%, 100%. And it like from a tattooer perspective, it's nice because we've like hand stenciled. Like we've had since situations where I've been around where we had to hand stencil shit,
Sure.
and your foundation is your stencil, and those iPad stencils are just so crisp compared to like the ones that you do by hand. Like they're crisp, but they're just not as
Well,
crisp.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I didn't do that to you in your apprenticeship, like because I knew better. I mean, you had to learn to do it. Like I wanted to show you what it was, but like, and you
Yeah,
should be able to.
yeah, because we've definitely been in
In a pinch,
spots
yeah.
where
If
yeah,
you're in a pinch, I mean, you just got to do it. But that was part of my line work training. Like, was like that was beaten into me because so my stencil had to be as good as And back in the day, that was before you ever touched skin. You
right.
were doing your mentor stencils, and they had better be perfect, or it was getting thrown back in your face, and you were doing it again. So if
Do
you're
you,
covered in purple for like weeks at a time doing your.
I know that like that's the way the industry was. That's what it was. I know there's some
Right. It's
great
not
people,
that. Yeah.
but do you ever think? And this is kind of like the man versus machine thing that goes back to like John Henry or whatever, right? Do you ever think is there anyone that could really do it as good as that iPad? We have the curve tool, we have the lines, like, and then you're printing it out. There's very little human error.
Right. I mean, truly. Um, I time for time? No. I mean, time for time, I'd have to say no. I mean, but I will say that, like, when those guys were doing that, coming, that generation, the that I was in of learning and like, shit beaten India.
Right.
Um, truly, I mean, even at times, like I've had broomsticks in my face.
Oh my.
I've had tubes, metal tubes thrown from across the room, like in very early apprenticeship that wasn't clean enough. Like,
Right.
and you know what though? I mean, it helped me to take all that stuff so seriously. When you're a young kid, like learning, young 20
Yeah.
something year old learning,
Yeah.
um, you know, it, it made me earn it. I will say that. I understand that I grew up in a very toxic tattoo environment,
It's
but
a
I was lucky. I will say, out of stories I've heard from other people, mine was definitely nowhere near what like I have heard from others, like and
yeah.
horror stories.
Well,
Um,
we're gonna do a whole episode on
yeah,
that.
so let's.
That's a whole
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, no, we will definitely talk about that. But I was lucky. I liked going to work.
Okay, we're good.
Oh, I liked going to work, and it was always enjoyable. I even till the last day I was there, I still like never walked in like, man, I gotta go here today. Um,
Right. That's
uh,
that's important.
yeah.
So, okay, so we've talked about like the iPads versus the stencils, and even like, man, this is a. It's so funny because I've heard so many different people talk about it, and the opinions are so varied. The stencil machines. Like I've heard
Right.
so many people like nothing will ever be like those 3M stencil machines or the Thermofaxes, and like these new machines are junk. They're just not as good.
Sure. No.
And our experience has been the opposite of that.
You're gonna waste a little more. You do waste a little bit more stencil paper with the cheap knockoff little run machines that you can get off of the cheaper sites and whatnot. Um, but pound for pound, again,
Yeah.
they tend to work. But I absolutely love the tattoo printer that you bought.
Oh,
I
yeah, the little
love it.
wireless one.
The little
It's so
wireless one.
funny because I was listening to some people talk about that last night, and they were just shit talking it, and I was like, I love that thing.
I really like. I mean, like it worked fine.
For context, it's about this big, and it's Bluetooth, and we just instead of printing and running a stencil through. So for anyone that's not familiar with the process, we do a printout traditionally, and then we run it through a stencil machine onto the carbon paper. But this one goes, you put the carbon paper in, it just prints right to it, and
you can pick where it goes on the paper,
yeah.
So you can actually save it. I guess the only thing is that I don't know if we've even tried it because I tend to use it more for like a bigger piece. I mean that's kind of what I get these days is the bigger pieces. So I'm usually like using up a full sheet regardless.
Yeah.
But it's nice because I guess you don't know if you can put that sheet back in and like run it, like even if it's cut, even if it's
even if it's cut, as long as you keep that seam at the top.
A seam at the top.
You just have to make sure that you put your image in the right part of the page.
But so you can still save the paper.
Yeah,
I think it works just fine.
And for conventions, it's been great.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I've used the 3M machines. They're great. They are fantastic when they're working properly.
Yes.
Getting them serviced is a nightmare.
Right.
A good one is anywhere from 1,800 to 3,300. Used these days. We
even did that, right? We bought a new one.
I didn't buy a 3M. I bought what was it? An Eclipse, I believe it was. And it's great. It was okay for a little while.
Yeah, just extra steps with the sleeves, and then
I don't mind the sleeves. It's how it started coming out, and like the dial in when you're dialing it in. So like I don't know, like strong and light tends to be fine. I feel like so. I am a big component of get the cheaper one. And if you have to
for the price point,
I don't think you're saving money by at this point going with like 3M because even just getting them serviced, I've heard shops bitch and moan that like they can't get somebody into the shop for 2-3 weeks or longer.
I mean
because you have to be certified for those 3M ones, and then they're great. They're great machines.
Yeah,
when they're working great.
Right. Yeah,
So I mean, that to me, I think the technology wins. Again, like with the first thing, the iPad kind of wins over stencil paper or tracing paper, and it wins over tracing paper. I used to go home covered in pencil and this and that and then there was it was dirty. Like I had a dirty desk.
Yeah.
Just for the drawing part.
Sure.
Right? I don't have a dirty desk now.
Right. We just have clean surfaces.
Right. If I want to do art, I do it at home.
Right.
Like it cleaned it up. Stencil machines. I think it's a 50-50 choice. I really don't have like one that wins over the other. In my experience, I like what we have. I would rather have I'd rather have two backups for like the mobile shop that we have and here, like a backup for each. And just in case it goes, because they do go. It's cheaper parts. They're not.
It is.
But
for what they cost.
By the time I buy a 3M one, Olive bought 30 of those.
Right.
Like, so, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see down the road what happens with like pricings and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually heard yesterday that there's a new one coming out that prints the tattoos on a gel sheet in full color.
what?
Yeah. Yeah. So your stencil is a full color stencil. Little paint by numbery for me personally, but it's not a terrible idea. It might be kind of neat.
I know. I guess we'll have to see how that actually works and holds up. Like,
we'll talk about that in like 5 years.
Yeah. That's one leg leaving to the side. I've learned 20 years of tattooing. I've learned that new product comes out, cool. Put it to the side.
Yeah.
Well, let's watch other people.
That's any technology.
Let's watch other people screw that up for a little while, and let's work the bugs out. Like,
for sure.
Yeah. So going on to machines. On to machines. I think that's a natural next. So the technology again, over 20 years when I first started, there were two machines. There were your coil machines and there were rotary machines. And then there were prism machines. There were three machines.
Right.
But the prism machine is a rotary.
Right. I was going to say.
So so really it is. It's a rotary and so while it hasn't really changed in a sense, rotary was never really a winner. It was the Betamax in the race. It was definitely the Betamax.
Oh, that's a really good description though, because what I was going to say is it's funny because coils are very American traditional specific. When you look at the same eras in like other places, they couldn't get coils, so they were using rotaries.
So let's go back for those that don't know. Coil machines, very lightly to explain it, run on a coil.
Okay, and we're back. Sorry
about that. Technical difficulties.
Sorry, guys.
So we are back. Welcome back. Anyway, we were back at machines. We are going to start talking about machines a little quickly here. We're going to go into these deeper in another episode. I don't want to do this too far, but we were saying coil versus rotary, and now pen machines. And with that being said, pen machines are, again, a version of a rotary, and we'll get into that for a second. But I want to show you real quickly, if you can kind of see this, it's a coil machine. That is your old school standard tattoo machine.
Yes.
And basically what that does is it uses an electromagnet coil that pulls down on a bar, which moves the needle up and down at a very high rate of speed. Generally it's kind of like a hummingbird. Think about it like a hummingbird. Their wings, you can barely see it, but it goes in up and down very fast. Whereas a rotary machine is coil based, or not a coil based. I'm sorry. It is a motor that has a rotation. So what's great about it, and I mentioned the prism machines earlier, rotaries are just a very fancy prism machine.
Yep.
That's why like you can use an old toothbrush and that style to make it, because it is just a cylinder that goes around in a circle, and it spins at an oblong shape, and that creates the movement for the needle to go up and down. And again, we're going to get into like machines and all of that later on. We don't want to go that deep, but basically what's happened to the technology in our careers is that rotaries have started to win. The pen machine now, which is a product that looks like this, basically a big metal cylinder. Yeah. It looks like a Johnson. And for a guy that's been doing this for 20 years, it took a while to fall into that new category.
Yeah, it definitely took some effort on my part to warm you guys up to those.
Yeah. And being the newer guy that's seeing this is what's being used constantly. Eric and I growing up together, and you'll know more about Eric later. But Eric and I growing up together, we used coil machines. That's what was available. They were solid. My first day as an apprentice, the guy that took me on threw his machine at me. Well, didn't throw it at me. It's his machine, but gave me his machine. Said, take it apart, put it back together. I'm using it in 2 hours, and I expect it to work perfectly.
No pressure.
That was my first day as an apprentice. And so coil machines were they're very breakdownable. So as far as technology goes and how it's progressed, the coil machine is something that there are things I can go to Home Depot and grab this or that and fix that.
Sure.
The coil is the heart of that machine, right? So a good coil from a good baker, a good builder, there's nothing like it. It's always going to work. It's an old school car, right? You can care for it. You treat it like that. You take it apart
and just
and you put it back together. Like when something's wrong with it. You know how to fix that thing. These coil machines or these rotaries and these pen machines. The unfortunate part of those is it's all based on the motor. It's all based on like the motor and this enclosed system, that when they break,
that's it.
It's kind of it. You can send them back for repair, and a lot of the companies will honor their. They make a great product. I mean, they're a beautiful machine. I'm not sitting here and saying that there's a badness to. They both have their pros and cons, is what I'm saying. The coil machine can be broken down, rebuilt, and work like new every single time. Your pen, your rotary, you can't. There's little pieces that you can. You can hold on to your grip, your this, your that.
I would argue within reason you can do that with a coil machine, but there's still parts on there that if they break, it's unusable.
If your frame bends, if
your capacitor blows,
if your frame becomes magnetized in some way or something like that,
or if you break one of the wraps in the coil, like if there's something goes wrong with your coil.
Sure, but all you need to do, you can literally take that coil apart and rewrap it if you have the skill set to do so.
Right.
You can't pull. I don't know a person. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I don't know that part of it, but I don't know anyone to pull apart a rotary motor and put that back together.
I bet you anyone that built a prism machine could.
No, they would just get a new motor. They would just find another.
Maybe. Okay, so there's people that know electronics.
Sure.
Because it's just a little electronic motor. So if you know all those like RCA hobby motors,
but that little motor has to be. It's still encased. It's generally encased.
Well, yes.
The motor part of it. So when if that were to break, you need a whole new.
But
can't replace.
It depends on the machine, because with the Numas, no, you can't. It's sealed. Bishop, you can get at them. FK irons. It's frowned upon. But like with the Ambition machines, they sell their motor. You can have a drawer full of their motors, so you can make.
Well, yes, and same thing with the coil machines. I generally have extra coils laying around to like replace them if something goes awry.
Kind of my point is that
Paco Rollins, for example, he when he came and did a seminar with us years ago, I bought a plethora of coils from him just to have on hand because. Just to have them. I've built Frankenstein machines with them, whatever. They are, but coil machines, tech-wise, there is something to be said for knowing it. I think that the new generation of artists, has almost, we're almost at the point of they have dismissed the coil machine. Yeah. The new generation, the next generation of tattoo. Shoot, yeah. I mean, look at me. 20 years in, how many times do I pull out a coil these days? Not very often.
Well, no, and I mean we'll touch on that in a second. That's definitely. But there's, shit, I had a point that I totally just.
The battery packs.
The battery packs. Let's go with
battery pack alone. Ooh, that was the scariest thing. I remember when I was first learning, and there were people trying to come out with products.
Right.
Like the tattoo industry was booming in product lines. Yeah. When I was first starting out, booming. Like every month, every new season of tattoo book that catalog, the supply catalogs, this, that, and the other, they would come out, and it would be they would say like everything new incline, new this, new that.
So for context, what we're talking about is the power supply. So the coil machines have to hook up to an electric power supply. Now we have battery.
All of them.
Well, yes, all of them.
They all need electricity, power, voltage, ampage.
Yes. But now we have battery.
Now battery packs. Thank you for bringing that up. But now battery packs are a whole thing that was not like, it was a joke back in the day. It was a.
I know it took some convincing on my part to get you to that too. Yeah. I get it.
I felt like I felt logically like a cell phone. Like, does your cell phone work as great at 50% power as it does when it's fully charged? Like, not really. Like, things do tend to lag, and
some things, sure,
some things do, but that's what was happening back when I first heard and first saw products like this. You go to a convention and see like, oh, this guy, he's got his booth set up, and he's like, oh, let me show you my product. It's like, it's a wireless tattoo machine. And there's been so many things. I mean, we went through, so Numa, which is a great quality pen machine, great quality. I am a big fan.
We love Numa in the shop. We all use Numa.
They have the power, the toughness that the coil had that I grew up with. They also had options where I could have a heavier pen that I liked because it felt more like a tattoo machine. They have light versions too, but like they offer that. They offer a heavier stance on stuff. And you know, it took a lot of convincing, but you get used to something. You know, I mean, that's what I knew that I could do a very solid quality, beautiful tattoo with this. Like, this is what I learned on. This is what I knew. And I knew it for 15 plus years of my career. Like, I still know it. I mean, I still try to keep up on it, but they're fading out. They're fading out. Nobody's using them. Or rarity. Right. Recently I've been to some conventions where there's guys that they primarily, that's what they're using is coil machines, and they're getting booked up. They're getting booked up because they're using coil machines. It's an interesting concept.
It's funny. It's just funny to me.
Like, but like nobody uses them anymore in terms of the broader stance. There's jokes. You've seen the memes. You've seen the videos, the TikToks, and the stuff. That like, it's like when somebody uses a coil machine in my shop now or something like that. Everybody's like coming out of their booth.
Yeah, their booth. What is that?
Like, what is that? What is going on?
So for context, I guess, before we get too lost, right? So the reason that we like them, and everyone's different. Like, your machine is personal preference all the way, and even the pens now are customizable, like the coil machines are. You can dial that stuff in to just how you like to tattoo, and a lot of us do. Especially, I guess that's really a good, like, on a little tangent, that's a good thing if you did learn with coils, is that you do learn different, because one coil machine, you could theoretically do a tattoo like start to finish with it, but you really got like you can't if you're a newbie, like you're gonna chew somebody up. There was different machines that were specifically set to different parameters for what you had to do, and you wanted to use those. So learning
now it's a touch of a button. Now it's a touch of a button.
But you still have different stroke profiles. You still have different stuff. So that's where a lot of, I think, for like me who learned on coils, and for a lot of the people that did grow up with coils, we do dial in our machines. Like I still like to have, and you can now with the pens, you can have a machine that is a great all arounder and you can do everything with. I'm a little OCD about my stuff, and I like to have a machine that I know does this really well, does this really well, does this really well. I like to have everything dialed in. And I think that comes from the coil side of things. Just knowing every little tiny thing. I mean, the thing that I will say, like I actually really enjoy, is that because I pay attention to every micro thing that my coils were doing, especially in learning. And then there's because of the customizability of coils, and there's a lot more maintenance involved in coils.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there is, and it's, what do they say about 50 hours in, and you should re-oil your stuff, and with the pen machine and all that.
But you're not like disassembling and then retuning, filing, and what I was gonna say is that kind of got me with the coils was like, especially learning was like, okay, is this a me thing or do I have my machine tuned wrong? And I came to a lot during my apprenticeship, and I was like, Chuck, check this.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if this. Whereas now I know, like, okay, the machine's set, it's running, like, and I can hear audibly whether it's like greased properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, this is I'm like in like a hurried mindset or something right now. I need to like adjust my mindset because maybe I put my voltage too high, and that's why I'm not getting the outcome that I want.
But again, to go back to like the what is, because I think what we've really come to with this episode is going, what is better, right? What is kind of better? Is it the past or is it the future? Is technology helping in this situation? Is it not? And I think that technology again has helped. I do. The pen machine, the battery. I never thought in a million years I would use a battery. I never did. Like, I was so against it. You know it. You were here for that.
I was.
Like, you did convince me. You did. Like, you buying the new one. Like, I just want to get it. And I was like, and then you came in and you were like, I really want to do this. And I was like, all right, but you're not using it on anybody until I fucking check it out.
Yep.
And
then I was like, fine, tattoo me.
Yeah. And and it really, really did. It was a game changer. It was the first time I felt like I could trust the battery. I wore that battery out. I told you I was going to do it. I ran that battery till the edge, till it turned off on us. I went to E on it just to see, because I wanted to know, because like I said, every experience I'd had up until this point was these things just aren't reliable. And it finally got there. It did. I mean, that thing ran solid until it shut off. It didn't slow down. Like the pacing didn't slow, and so they got there. And again, I just think that, I mean, I used to be attached to chords. I used to play the Pinocchio song in my head all the time. I got strings. I got strings. Like, I got all the strings. Well, there were times like, it was like trying to like gas up your car, like trying to get to the other side of somebody when you had to. Like, it was weird. We're rolling over it with your chair. Clip cord chair rolling. Like, could ruin your day. It could ruin your day. The 6-foot cord was the best cord in the world because it didn't happen to it. You could hold on to it for a while, but you were also just stuck so close to some of it. Like, I mean, like, you had to bring the chair closer. You were just tightening it. Like, Then the 10-foot cord, it worked for a while, but that thing would cut out. So again, I think technology wins. I honestly do.
And for those of you that like are not initiated or in the industry that are just watching, right? What this does for us is a few different things. The weight of the machines, the pen machines now, is definitely more balanced.
Yes.
They're lighter for people that like that. And then there's less vibration for sure.
Better for the wrist in
Which,
the long term.
For us, it's better for our wrists and hands in the long term.
Yeah, so we get to tattoo you longer.
Yeah, we get to tattoo you longer. We're not going to have nearly the amount of problems that because I've heard like the old timers talk. They're like, yeah, you get like
carpal tunnel.
Yeah, 30 good years out of your hands, and then after 50, it's just not going to work out. So it's just great for us.
Yeah, no, I feel like I can tattoo another 30 years, like if everything else holds up.
Yeah.
But it has. It's definitely been a help.
And
it's faster. A lot of
aspects. Yeah.
Changing out a cartridge.
Yes.
Changing out a cartridge is just tenfold faster than me having to change out machines, clip this in, or safer.
Or handling less stuff.
It's an all-inclusive little thing. So if you can, that's all that touches you, and so it's safer, it's cleaner, it's more efficient, which means more actual tattoo time. Like I have more time that I'm tattooing you than that. So I think so. I mean, so far, technology is winning. We got it's one with the iPad. It's I'd say it's neck and neck with I'd say it's neck and neck with like the Thermofax machines, the stencil makers.
Sure, but also stencil machines win over hand stenciling.
Oh my God!
By a landslide.
By a landslide. When I was hand stenciling, and yes, 3M machines have been around for a while.
Yeah.
Not every shop had one
because they were expensive.
And they were expensive, and and you could do it by hand. And so, if you didn't have one, that was waiting for somebody to come into the shop. I was waiting for somebody to come into the shop, make sure the size was correct and that everything worked, and that they loved everything about it. And then they had to sit there for an hour while you traced your drawing onto your stencil paper by hand.
Right.
And you could be like, well, go get a coffee or, come back in an hour. But that was the part of their session at that point. It was like...
because there was no way to do it beforehand.
There was no way to do it beforehand. If it was size-wise, you couldn't do anything until they got there. Unless you had, unless you were that organized. And I'm sorry, not many of us are as tattoo artists. We try, but that's a lot to ask. To have a consult the night before to make sure that's good so that you get that ready for them to be there. But that's a whole ass thing. If you were that good, then props to you. Many a time that's how it works. Throughout the ages, it was if we're hand stenciling something, and sometimes the Thermofax just wasn't working and you had to do it anyway. So,
right.
But overall, the Thermofax way better, way faster. So again, I think technology's winning all the way around, and I think we have one more to talk about, which is the printers and what's going on with printers and technology. Obviously, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the fact that printers print stuff out. That's not right. You guys don't need that. It's a thing. I think we're all there.
We're all pretty familiar with it.
If you're not familiar with a printer, what it does is you print something and it's on another sheet of paper. It's great. So we'll move on from that. But the modern part of it again is the eco printer, right? That's what I wanted. That's why I was talking. That's why I wanted to bring that up separately than the stencil. I saw your look when I first mentioned it to you that I wanted to bring that up. But I wanted to talk about that because the eco printer has definitely made it's a huge game changer in the tattoo industry. Typically stencils, for the uninitiated, like you were saying earlier, are typically it's a line drawing, very open.
Yeah.
Clean and simple. Clean, simple. American traditional is great for the line drawing. Those go through the stencil printers. Now, if you're doing a 3D tattoo or a portrait, and yes, many portraits have been done before this eco printer came out that had the potential to do this.
Right.
You could, just have lines and figure it out, kind of like a paint by number, and have like we'll show you that down the road, I'm sure, if you guys still watch us, but these new printers, these eco printers, are capable of giving us a pretty much a 3D image in the stencil purple, in the stencil carbon.
Almost photo quality.
And what's great about that is that we can really, I mean, even for the people that are learning those stencils, learning how to do that and getting better at that, they can use that for the fake skin and practice doing these portraits on that. But when it comes to the tattoo part of it, it's already, you can see the shades, you know where those darks are going, you know where those lights are going, as opposed to having to go back and forth from picture to tattoo, which it takes 2 seconds to do that, right? It takes us half a second to do that, to go back and forth and look and be like, I'm getting my shade right. At the same token, though, that does, in our brains, it still takes that 2 seconds. So are you getting it adds up, and so you're saving more time on portraits, on 3D things, the stuff that you do put through the through Procreate or through Adobe or whatever, and you put that in there and you print it out. You get your darks, your lights, everything without having just a line. So if you're doing something more realistic, more soft, it's a great product. I mean, it really is.
No, they work really well. The stencils hold really well, and you can't do that with the other stencil makers. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work, right? A little cross hatching you can get away with, stuff like that, but it bleeds together too much. It makes this line, and I think that it's a really neat thing that's come out in recent times, and I see them at every convention. Somebody has at least a couple people have them, and that are doing them more realistic. And talk about fast, like you want Michael Jordan, doing this, or you want some portrait, some actor, or even your kid or whatever. They can put it in, create, just get out the right lights, the right darknesses, play around with that, and boom, that thing is stenciled. It's ready to go.
Yeah. So it speeds things up for sure.
So I guess what we're getting at is that technology has really, really brought us to the,
only thing
better.
It is better. The only thing, and you touched on this, and we didn't talk about this before this at all, was the fake skin, because that's a tech that we have now. That's a newer thing.
Yeah.
And they're just okay. It's a better way to get started. Well, no, grapefruit and pigskin. I still think, because that's what I started on, was grapefruit and then pigskin. Pigskin's gross, but it's definitely better than the fake skin.
It's definitely more realistic. I mean, it's because it's real.
It is, and it taught me speed, because you only have that.
If you ever, when you are learning, if you ever need to get something done, go get yourself a pigskin on a hot 80-degree day,
because you can't
start tattooing it.
You can't throw that in your drawer and come back to it.
You're not coming back to it.
You have a very specific amount of time before that pigskin gets even grosser.
Yeah. Yep. Put a little sheet of dry ice under it and get to work.
Yeah. So I think those are close. I do think that there's still better.
I mean, there's better. There's better fake skin. There's worse fake skin. All over the board.
There's a spectrum.
There is a spectrum of it. I mean, I'm not talking shit about anybody's, and there's companies that make some really good products out there.
There is.
90% of it is garbage.
Yeah, I still think
that's going to be a topic another day because I have stories about that.
Yes,
I have stories.
I know you.
They beat me. They beat me to the market.
But I do think, especially for apprentices and people learning, the pigskin is better. I still think it's better. The fake skin just isn't close enough. I think it's great for trying out new techniques once you're established.
Yes,
I think it's good for showcasing stuff. I mean, that's something we're seeing.
I think showcasing. I think fake skin's great for showcasing. Yeah. But
it's wild to see, like, at conventions now, people selling their stuff on fake skin. Like,
well, I mean, it's what a cool thing. Like, I mean, I've often thought about that. Like, what if there are people that still don't want to get tattoos, love the artwork, don't want to get it. How can they enjoy it? Again, we can even go further into technology with that. Like, even what we were talking about earlier was the leather working and tattooing leather and shoes, and you can tattoo stuff like you can actually tattoo things. Like, it's not like nobody did that before. Now it's becoming very popular. Like, there's a market for it, and it's a good market. It's an interesting, there's so much, and we're going to touch on all of that stuff. But I wanted to reach out and talk about. I thought it would be a good first episode talking about a little bit about like old to new, and then and where we thought it was going. Honestly, overall, I think that it's better. I think the last part of technology it's not really technical. I think the last thing to touch on is, and we'll get into a broader episode on this, I'm sure, because that'll be a good one. We got to put that on board. But the laws of and what's happening with the laws and where things are going. Tattooing has always been so hands off by the government for so long. They didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole for forever. It was either legal or illegal. That was it. It was either allowed or it wasn't allowed. I mean, there's so many places that are just learning and just becoming legal. Like, even you would think that's everywhere. It's not. No. It's just becoming legal in places over the past 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
We'll talk about all that. But even though it's not technology, again, I do think this is where I'm like back and forth between the new and the old. Like, there's good stuff that is possible for the industry. There's a lot of old guys or people that have no business talking about tattooing or having a say in tattooing that are trying to put things in place against us to keep things safe or this, that, and the other that. And we'll talk about that in a whole different episode. But
that's definitely
it is, so that's very 50-50 is where's the legal status on tattooing too, right? Like, so in a lot of ways, tattooing has progressed in a great, great way. I think there's the old guys get so mad at talking about the new stuff. They do. They get so mad. I don't understand why. It's just where we're at. I mean, I get why, but I can relate.
I get why, and we'll expand on this and the difference between. But I think one of the biggest things that the old timers really loved about the coil machines was it was the best way to gatekeep.
It was a gatekeeping.
It was a gatekeeping tool.
Episode. All right, we fingered you both. All right, we both fingered you. All right, so DP tattoos, guys.
But yeah, so I think anything that makes it safer for the artist, safer for the clients, and just better for the experience on both. Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
The new stuff, it's cleaner, it's safer, and it's quicker, more efficient. Yeah. Especially for the people in street shops, to clean up and tear down and switch over.
And you still have the person. The person is still the human is still very relevant.
Yes. It's all a tool. Yes. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all a tool.
All of it is tools to get to the end result with the person because. Till today, and I mean, I know they're working on it. That's a different technology. We're not going to touch on that tonight. No, you know. But it's not happening anytime soon. Humans are going to have to tattoo.
Yeah,
it's pretty safe right now. That's pretty safe
for where we're at, for as far as we've come, and for where we're at as an industry, as artists, and all these things. I think that's a big takeaway that I would like to drive home, especially at the end of this episode, is that doesn't matter how far our tools have come, the artist still has to do it. The tools are not doing this tattoo for you.
Yeah.
The artist's experience and the amount of time and effort that they have put into learning this.
The artist had to sit there and take out that sixth finger from the AI creation that you gave us. So,
oh Lord, yeah, AI is a whole own episode, right?
Boy, we're just thank you for being here and helping us decide on future episodes. We would really, really love to have you guys submit any ideas that you want to hear about, any topics you want to hear about. There's going to be episodes. We're going to talk about Rochester. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about tattooing a lot. Obviously, that's the job here. But we're going to talk about Rochester. We're going to talk about where we came from. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And truly, I hope that you guys stay with us. I thank you for being with us this far. Yes. If you've made it, you get a gold star.
Thank you. Thank you again for tuning into this episode. Yeah, gold stars for whoever made it this far.
Gold stars whoever made it this far. And we want to make sure that we'll even work on maybe some maybe some merit badges or like some
stickers.
Some stickers. We'll get
yeah.
Please like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe and comment.
Share it with your friends. Comment.
Yeah.
Anything
you like, please share.
We want nothing from you other than your undivided attention.
Yes, that's all.
I'm kidding. You can have the TV on in the background.
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Bye.